Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and I'm at the Portland Retro Game Expo, and I have a special treat for you guys. Terry Diebold, the owner of this, the Nintendo PlayStation prototype, was cool enough to let me come over and do a special video for you guys. Now this thing might be being sold soon, so this is one of its last, if not possibly its last public appearance, so having access to it, I kind of wanted to do a little throwback to a series I used to do called Rare Variants, where I would talk about all these rare consoles that had some sort of version. Now obviously, this is a unique case, because A, I don't own it, and B, we're not doing this at home. But this basically, if you're not familiar, like, what the hell are you talking about? What is that? So, there was a time in the early 90s, well technically late 80s, but Sony and Nintendo got together and they decided, hey, we can make a console together. Basically, Nintendo would provide game support and Sony would go ahead and produce the hardware, and they'd create their own proprietary disc format. Now, basically what happened is that Sony ended up saying like, hey, anything that's produced on those discs is ours. And Nintendo was like, yeah, we're not cool with that, because then you would have all the money that came from all the disc-based games that we're producing. So it ends up being a really bad deal for Nintendo. So Nintendo says, we're not really cool with that, and we're gonna bail on you. So there was a public announcement, I think it was CES at that time, and basically they said, hey, we're gonna go off and work with Philips. So Nintendo goes off and works with Philips, which is ultimately why you got those Zelda CDI games as well as Hotel Mario. And Sony went off and started working with Sega, actually, and then they started making a bunch of games for Sega CD. And there was this big mess and all this stuff that ultimately came of all these companies going their separate ways. So ultimately for Philips, all they got was those Nintendo licensed games. Sega got a bunch of extra content. Nintendo goes off and says, forget CDs, we're not doing anything with CDs, we're gonna go off and make the Nintendo 64, and Sony goes off and makes the PlayStation as we all infamously know it. So what am I holding in front of me? Well, I am holding the prototype of that effort. Now, I'm actually going to be doing an interview in a bit and with Terry, so he can tell you more about it and what it's been like ever since he found it. But in a nutshell, that's its history. It has a fully functional Super Famicom cartridge slot, as well as a now functional CD tray that can read its own proprietary format. Again, think Sega CD in comparison to the Genesis. It has an eject button, a reset button. Right here is a CD indicator. It says no disc most of the time, but it does actually play music CDs.
So it plays the music and overrides the game cartridge.
Correct.
That's interesting.
So, but you can't play soundtrack music with the cartridge, can you?
Nah, like OG Xbox style.
There was a cartridge that came with it. This actually includes, as I'm told, the source code that allows people to write games and create their own games specifically for it. There was one game produced, which is this, which is Super Boss Gaiden. This is a fan-made game from that effort. They put it onto a cart so you can play it. You can actually download this and play this on any Super Nintendo or Super Famicom. But there is actually a CD version of this that they created. It's a cool premise. The idea is the president of Sony finds out that their prototype was in the hands of somebody. I wonder how that came about to be. And it's basically the boss going around beating up all of his employees just to be like, hey, how did that happen? So cool game that came from that. And in that, he also found the original Sony PlayStation controller. Yeah, this is a Super Nintendo controller that says Sony PlayStation on it. And up here where it would say Nintendo, it also says Sony as well. So it's just a fascinating little strange piece of history. Yeah, on the front, Sony, and on the back in the molding says Nintendo. This was a 100% legit product, and it's just kind of crazy to think that for years it was rumors. Like, it was like, are you sure this thing is real? And most people didn't believe it. And Terry will tell you more about that when we get to that part of the video, but it was just absolutely crazy. So in front of it, I'm sure you guys have seen this in videos and so forth, but we're doing it one last time because it might be its last public appearance. You have the power switch, as well as 2 controller ports, a volume level, headphone jack, the eject mechanism for the tray, as well as over here you have skip and pause and play for music CD functions, reset, eject, obviously for the cartridge, and on the back you have the power supply, you have the multi-AV out, which is like the thing that the Super Nintendo and N64 and GameCube use. This thing actually does support RGB video, which we've actually done in the past. We've hooked it up to all sorts of weird stuff to see what we could do. We got this RGB out through the HD Retrovision cables connected to a RetroTink with smoothing. Now on top of that, we added an M Classic, and it's just like, it's ridiculous how good the video quality is off of this thing. And then you also have stock composite and as well as an onboard S-video port. Also this next port, which is some sort of proprietary port we assume was meant for some sort of link cable, or who really knows, to be honest with you. And on the bottom it does have actually the expansion port that the Super Famicom and Super Nintendo used, presumably so it could have used things like the Satellaview, or who knows, frankly, what other devices they might have ever connected to it. But yeah, this is the official Sony Nintendo PlayStation prototype, and it's an absolute honor to have been able to ever see it in person, to play with it, now to be holding it. And I can't thank Terry enough, and I will thank him again in person in just a moment. But yeah, this is a amazing piece of history, and I am so thankful to have been able to enjoy it, and you guys can all see it. So that's the console in a nutshell. As promised, the honor, Terry, right here.
Hello.
So first of all, dude, thank you for the honor of letting me make this video with you.
No problem.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, also, thanks Go Collect, because these guys were cool enough to bring him out here for one last appearance, and they gave me a shirt because they're really nice people. So, but yeah, anyway, all I wanted to do, dude, is can you tell your story about like how you found it? Because I want people to know, like, from the horse's mouth, what happened. How did you get it?
Well, it could be lengthy, but I'll give you the 5-minute version.
Sure.
Basically, when the company I worked for, Vanna Corporation, went bankrupt, they had an online auction, and my vice president back then had me go around to the boardrooms to pack up the cups, plates, and saucers in 2 different places. One was in Springhouse and one was in Delaware. Now, when I opened up the drawers and stuff, I saw a lot of these stuff was still wrapped in plastic and brand new, never used. I mean, when you got 8 board members, you buy enough for 10, 11 people, so when they have guests. So when I wrapped it up, I marked on the boxes, what was in each one of them, and I knew I wanted to bid on this stuff. So when it showed up on screen, if you wanted to be in on an online auction, you had to sit out in the auditorium with a pad on. So I'm out there, and there was 3 DocuSafe boxes that they had opened and showing it up on screen. Now, the bidding started 25, I said 50, it went 65, I said 75, and it stopped. And people probably thought I was nuts bidding 75 bucks for just 3 boxes of cups, plates, and saucers. But I guess they didn't read the small print because I packed up a lot of stuff. So when I won the bid, I went back to the auctioneer guys, and they showed me this big ass lot, and I'm like, dude, I didn't pack half this crap. And they're like, well, since you had to get out of the buildings, we made the lot bigger, and, instead of create more lots. So I said, okay, that makes sense. So it took me 2 carloads to get this thing home. So when I got the stuff home, anything I had packed up, I just sat aside. And anything that wasn't written on, I just started opening boxes. Now, one box, now going forward here, everything I'm talking about belonged to Olaf Olsson, who was the president of Sony back in the 90s.
Yeah, the first president of PlayStation, basically.
Yeah. Now, when I opened up the boxes, I found some ties with wingtips, and back then when I was dating this one girl, I went through the ties. You're not going to throw away a $200 silk tie, you know what I mean? You have that stuff clean, and you throw away what she doesn't like or give to her kids, whatever. Other boxes I opened up, there was like 200 or 300 music CDs, a lot of it still wrapped in cellophane from back in the 90s. I still got all that crap up in my attic. And then when I opened up, now I got a bunch of other boxes of his stuff too, but when I opened up another box, the prototype was in there, the one and only controller Adam showed you was in there, and so was the boot cart, which was pretty freaking awesome. Now, when I first saw this thing, I was like, what the hell is this? I tried going online to find out anything about it, and all you saw was concept art. And we've all seen that concept art of what this was supposed to look like.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was a myth.
Yeah.
Really, till he came about.
Yeah, we got so much hate mail on this thing. They thought I 3D printed it and all this other happy horse shit. I'm smart, but I ain't that smart, trust me. And to 3D print some of this like this, I got friends that do it for a living. It would probably cost me like $150,000 or more just to do this on its own, with probably no software inside. You know what I mean? So then they saw the controller and they said the same thing about that. It's 3D printed. Well, no, like Adam will tell you, you look at it, you can see it screen printed and everything else on it. You know what I mean? I can't do that crap. So I tried looking online here through the U.S. Patent Office, and I'm like, why can't I find anything out about this thing? So I had, at one point in time, printed up this one piece of paper, and it actually showed the prototype, like 1 inch by 1 inch square picture, but it was real grainy, and it was like you were finding Bigfoot. I'm like, but you can see it was actually the prototype in the picture. And underneath, there was 2 sets of numbers, like 8, 10 numbers, and it said J-Plat, and then like 8, 10 numbers, J-Plat, 8, 10 numbers. I'm like, epiphany. I should be looking at the Japanese patent office. So I did that. And there was like 3 or 4 drop-down boxes when I went on J-Plat, and I learned how to plug the numbers in. And before you know, when I hit the right sequence, it opened up like unbelievable, the amount of pages that it opened up, and actually showed the prototype pictures and all, and explained what happens when you push button A and do this and do that. So as soon as I did that on the first number from the J-Plat, I printed up all that. Same thing happened with the second one, because I never knew if, you know, once this came to light that they would pull it down. You know what I mean? So I got a stack of paper at home like this about the patent on this thing. You know what I mean? So basically that's how I came about this. And then my son was online and read it one night, and I guess the gaming guys were shining down on us, and they're talking about back in the day, like Adam was saying, when Sony and Nintendo were supposed to be butt buddies making this thing. And he's like, oh yeah, my dad's got one of these up in his attic. And they're like, F you. I guess, you know, he's got a copy of Half-Life 2 up there too and shit like that.
Half-Life 3.
Yeah, Half-Life 3, you know, they're busting on it big time, you know what I mean?
It's funny you say that, because I had done a video on this thing years before anybody found it, just kind of talking about the history a little bit.
Right.
And around that time, as soon as this whole story broke, I was getting comments like, yeah, they found it, but it's like, it's bullshit, it's not real. And I was like, okay. And so, you know.
Yeah, so at that point, my son asked me, I had a flip phone back then, and he asked me to take some pictures of it and, you know, send it to him. I'm like, dude, it's up in the attic, you know, and it was wrapped in plastic, not just thrown up there, you know, and pretty snuggle in the box that I had put it in. I pretty much knew where it was in the attic. So I took 3 pictures, sent it to him, you know, and he told me right then and there, he says, Dad, I can't post these. This is like finding Bigfoot, you know what I mean? Because everybody knows what it's like finding Bigfoot, you know, so grainy. So when he came home on July 3rd weekend, I had said, hey, I still got that prototype, which we didn't know what it was then. I still got that unit down from the attic. You want to come over and take some pictures of it? He said, yeah, sure. So he came over, took a bunch of pictures, posted them on Facebook that night, and he went out drinking with his buddies, and his phone died. So when he stayed at his buddy's house that night, and when he got to his mother's house the next morning, he plugged his phone in, and it literally blew up. Everybody wanted a piece of his ass. They wanted to know, hey, whoa, are you the owner, and blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. This guy who's Brian from Polygon must have been calling him every 10 seconds, because no sooner he plugged it in, Brian from Polygon called, and he goes, is this Dan Diebold, the guy that showed the pictures? And my son had no idea that it went viral. I mean, it did. Every language all around the world, this thing, it just went like freaking crazy.
Yeah, you essentially discovered Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That's essentially what happened. They proved the Loch Ness Monster was real.
Yeah. So he goes, can you do us a favor? And my son's like, what's that? He goes, can you do a video? Because anybody can find pictures and post it. So he came over, we did a minute 42 video, and no sooner he posted that online, it went viral just like the pictures did, all over the world in every language. You're like, wow, what the hell do we have here? I mean, right now we got over 1.3 million views on this prototype of the minute 42 video he did. We wish we would have monetized it a lot earlier. But we were sitting at the bar that night watching it go up 20, 30,000 hits every like 10, 20 minutes, you know, hoot and holler, having a good time. And we still didn't know what we had. We just knew we had something unique and special. And that's when Dixon Wu brought us over to Retro.HK in Hong Kong with this thing. And that was the first expo we were ever at.
Yeah, and so since then you've been going around to convention to convention to convention, doing like basically a portable museum tour with this thing. And one of the things I think is amazing, dude, is you let people hold it. You let people play with it. Yeah. Like, no one else would have done that. This is just like a really legit dude who lets people do that. And I know I've been to plenty of conventions with this thing, and it's always just people stunned by it. They don't know what it is. They're always shocked. They're excited. And it's just like cool. It's like you get to experience this piece of history in real time. You get to see it. You get to basically hug Bigfoot. Like, it's basically what you get to do. Yeah. So I mean, I want to thank you for all the service you've done for that.
No problem.
Because that's just crazy that, you know, so many people got to experience this.
Yeah,
a lot of people got happiness out of that.
In the museum, but a lot more people got to see it all over the world because of the way me and my son presented this to the world.
It's not just the U.S. I know it's gone to Canada a few times.
Yeah, I've been to Canada twice for a day. Hong Kong for 50 days.
Monaco
twice for a day. I mean, I
literally
wrote. Dude, I've been throughout the United States.
Right.
You know what I mean? I literally will still go anywhere as long as I still own it, but the prototype is up for sale. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's well known right now that it's up for sale. My Twitter and my email account is just like going freaking nuts. People all over the world, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Japan, you know, England. I mean,
it'd be
France.
Honestly, it would be kind of cool if either Sony or Nintendo bought it and had it as a display piece.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Oh, I know, but it's.
I already emailed Shuhei Yoshida.
You know Shuhei Yoshida.
Yeah, I chat with him every now and then. So
he's got some cool friends.
yeah, I've met a lot of real cool people with this thing. Movie stars, actors,
nice.
You know, stuff like that.
Any other memorable moments or stories you'd like to share about this thing?
Dude, I could be on here for an hour.
I know how that goes.
An hour video.
Well, if there's is there any other final thoughts? Anything else you want to say?
It's been real.
It's been real, man.
Thanks for everything, guys.
Dude, again, thank you not only for letting me be part of the video and all that stuff, but just for what you've done and letting everybody do this.
Dude, raccoon your ass.
All right, I'm going to tell you something I should never tell. I licked this thing. He knows. Which is not a good idea. Don't do that.
Yeah, it tastes nasty. It's 30 years old.
Yeah, it's got my DNA on it. You don't want
Yeah.
that. Well, all right. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, thank you very much to Terry. Thank you to my buddy Jesse here for being our little cinematographer. Hope you guys can like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Always appreciate it. Social stuff's in the description. I'm also going to put his stuff in there too. So if you want to, I mean, if you have
Reach out.
Yeah, if you want to reach out about possibly buying it, if you're that kind of high roller. But either way, just go follow him and see his story. It's a fascinating one.
Yeah, it's still out and about, so you know it's not put away yet. And
Yeah.
hopefully, when it does get put away, somebody
doesn't
wants to do what they want
Yeah.
to do with it. So please stop with the needs to be in a museum crap. I've heard that every freaking year. And, you know, if a museum really wants it, you know, people are saying I should donate it. Yeah, donate it to somebody that's going to turn around and sell it. Hello.
So this is footage of possibly its final public appearance at PRGE 2019. For the record, I hope it's not. I hope Terry can find some way to continue to do what he's been doing, but so far it seems like that may not be the case. So if that is indeed the situation, I wanted to go out with a bang. So I borrowed my buddy Kikuna's Hitachi High Saturn, the GPS Sega Saturn. Yes, really, that was a thing. And my buddy Jesse, who I mentioned a moment ago, has the Atari Jaguar Dental Unit, which I decided I'm going to display all these. I'm going to make this happen. We're going to have it be a really special thing. And so it occurred to me at one point, if this truly is the final public appearance of the Nintendo PlayStation prototype, then something special had happened. And I'll let past me tell you.
I'm doing some record footage here. See this? PlayStation prototype, Nintendo PlayStation prototype. I'm going to be the last person to ever play this at a con, most likely. And then I'm going to, I'm terrible because I'm playing with one hand, but I did it. I played with it. I can't do this with one hand and film. But I'm also going to be the one disconnecting it and putting it away. I actually hooked it up back here with a RetroTink RGB cables, specifically the HD Retrovision ones, and an M Classic. We got it running like that. So we made it look really good on its finale, but I get to be the last person to ever play this at a convention and then put it away. So thank you very much once again to the man here, Terry. Booyah! Thank you very much, Terry, for everything you've done. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.